Testing.
We're gonna try.
Do we have audio? Do we have audio?
Yeah.
Smile or don't smile. Comment if you can hear us.
Yeah.
Comment if you can hear us. Please. You working?
There's a delay.
I know. I'm watching the screen up here for comments, hoping that you can hear us. Hey everybody, round 3, and I'm gonna just assume that this is working. Yes, we're getting some yays. Yes. All right. Perfect. Ta-da! It's not like any of us.
We're good at board games.
Yeah. We're. I want to give a special shout out to the folks that are sitting right in front of us that you can't see, Heather and Amanda, who were here until about 4 or 5 in the morning, working on both the campaign page as well as prepping for all of this stuff. It is not their fault that our equipment decided to.
And not just yesterday, but like all week, last week,
right?
And then hey, let's do a live stream and have them manage it right at the end of the last.
Believe it or not, they didn't put the entire campaign page together last night. But though some of it, people are like, okay. Yeah. Anyway, with all of that said, welcome to our third attempt at a Too Many Bones Unbreakable live stream launch party. My name is Josh Welgus. You know me as Gilly from the comments and Board Game Geek and our Kickstarter updates. I am here with the esteemed. Who are you?
I'm Adam Carlson. One of the founders with Josh.
Same, Josh Carlson.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And what a morning.
I know, right?
From midnight on, I'm referring to the morning because we've been pushing ourselves. But we all had an idea of what this campaign might take in on day 1, and it's already surpassed some of our internal projections for the entire first day. This is absolutely incredible, and Too Many Bones. What a weird game, and it exists. It exists because of backers. Honestly, like this is the type of absolutely crazy, bonkers, bizarre title that could never exist without crowdfunding ever.
No.
And so it's really fun to be here this morning, watching these numbers roll in, watching the excitement pour in, and again, it's all thanks to you, all thanks to the community, and all thanks to backers. That's really what this game. Everything about this game's success belongs to all of you out there. So
you've been with us from the beginning of Bones.
Yes.
So
sort of.
I mean, close to. So take me through your first.
Yeah. Well, so my role at the company has changed a lot. And I started just doing kind of social media for the company way back. Well, Too Many Bones was in development. I kind of helped the company out at. We're brothers-in-law, in case you didn't know that. And these two are cousins, so this company's all about nepotism at every level. And Too Many Bones was being developed. It had a $250,000 campaign, and the game was in development. You two were working full-time jobs. You had families. You still have families.
Yeah, that's a good
incidentally.
Thing. Sure do.
Believe it or not.
I better
Yeah. I was just helping with social media stuff, and we were kind of coming up to the original, proposed delivery date of Too Many Bones. And it was clear the game was not going to deliver on time because this game is a monster. Yeah. It's a huge behemoth, and there were just so many things to do. And so I said, hey, what if I come up for a weekend? I was living in Wisconsin at the time, and we just pull like an all-nighter, three days in a row. We just go for an intense work weekend. We just try to finish the game, which we didn't end up finishing the game that weekend. But what I remember, there's two things I remember. At the end of that weekend, we submitted chips, and I remember we were moments away from sending the print files to our manufacturer, and I was staring at a couple of the baddies, and all of a sudden it dawned on me, that is not the right kind of hardy. The skill that you all know on the baddie is hardy, one of the most loathed skills in the game because it's difficult to deal with. Originally, it had hearty, like a hearty stew or a hearty soup, and we caught that legitimately like 15 minutes before we were sending chips to be manufactured. So that's one story I remember. And then we drank so much Mountain Dew that weekend, and I became intensely dehydrated. And I remember going back. I was staying with my in-laws who live in the area, and I remember going back to my in-laws' house to sleep. After this 3-day marathon of work, and just having this splitting headache. It's like 3:00 in the morning, and I just ended up puking my guts out in my in-laws' bathroom. And so, as I reflect, and now I've done a lot of writing and design work and whatever on the game, right alongside these guys and several other folks here in the office. But as I reflect on this number that I see on this phone in front of me and the success of this game and of this company, it's just so funny because never in a million years as I was puking my guts out in my in-laws' bathroom would I have assumed that we'd be sitting here.
What were you doing?
I was puking my guts out in my in-laws' bathroom. I would never would have assumed, never would have dreamt that we'd be sitting here with $700 on day one of a campaign years later. And it's a testament to the passion of the fans and the backers. So, anyway, we're here. There's not really an agenda for this. We're here to answer your questions, to share in the excitement of the campaign with you all, and that's really it. So there is one question, I guess, that is coming up a lot, and that is regarding older TMB content, things like the older like Gilly Tank Nugget, 40 Days in Daylore, Age of Tyranny as opposed to Rage of Tyranny. Will that stuff be available in the Pledge Manager? Yes. Yep. Yes. And in fact, so if you're to give you a little peek behind the curtain, these campaigns always seem to come together at the very last second, and there's always a few things that we are still working on. We will be posting, as we have in our last couple of campaigns, we will be posting a PDF of everything that will be available in the Pledge Manager after the campaign, and that will include the entirety of the Too Many Bones product line.
Yep, everything will be in there.
Including promos, including the Automaton of Shale, which I have a prototype of that here in front of me on the table. Everything will be available, we promise. If you want to add funds now to help unlock stretch goals as a part of the campaign, you will be able to do so. I mean, you can technically do that now, but we'll have the pricing and everything for you in that PDF that we will be sharing hopefully later today. We need to create a button for it and then link out to it. But the PDF has been created, and boom, that's it.
So look for it look right below stretch goal, or actually just right above stretch goals is where we'll try to fit it in there.
And just a theme of this campaign is going to be, this is our first Game Found campaign.
It is.
That we've ever ran.
Yeah.
And so we are also learning the platform a little bit. So if you experience a few, or a lot of it, if you experience any technical difficulties, please alert us of them, and then know that we are working literally around the clock to try and get this stuff all squared away for you. So,
and a quick shout out for the folks at Game Found. I haven't been directly in contact with them, but from what I know, they've been very accessible and willing, able to work with us, and it's been a great experience so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So our first question that we have coming in is, what was the inspiration for the theme of Unbreakable? And that's a question, I think.
Sure. It was interesting because I wanted to take everyone in one of two directions. We had left off with a few of the gear locks falling into the break. So and we had kind of alluded to that also with something that doesn't exist, going underground and like hearing of giant beasts or creatures underground. So we had kind of set the stage on a couple levels for that. But we were well aware that we hadn't really explored the western hemisphere, like west of Obendar. So those were kind of the two options that I was most interested in. But I think, like, as we looked at the series and looked at how much content we were producing with this thing, and knowing that we needed to kind of tie some bows on this, that like underground was the best way to go. So we're taking the gear locks into the break, and they're actually trying to uncover some mysteries that were left behind. They kind of thought that Nobulus was taken out, that there was no more threat, but they're finding out that's not the case. He might be gone, but there's influences still left behind. So
Right.
there's more of that to be revealed. So I won't talk too much about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
If you're unfamiliar with the lore of the game, the break again is this underground cavern where there was this big machine that essentially like malfunctioned and kind of ended up doing irreparable damage to the world of Daylor, which is the world of Too Many Bones. So so we are now we're adventuring down into the break to kind of see what was going on down there and how some of this stuff came to be. So so well, and then why don't you I think also you should talk about the inspiration for then gameplay wise the new battle map, because it ties into where we also want to take battles.
That sounds good. Sure. I mean, so it's interesting in developing this next set of bones, because you've got encounters that are bringing their own element to it. You have brand new gear locks that really stand on their own. They play in all the other games. So they're in and of themselves a game to learn. And so when it comes to like what do we do with Undertow or Unbreakable specifically, it's kind of interesting because the mat is what's left. You've got your encounters, you've got new loot, you've got new gear locks, but now you have this mat. And so I think one of the things that I wanted to make sure we addressed was in the other games, especially when you're on a raft or in the base game of Bones, there wasn't as much of a reason to move around. Like you could engage with the baddies and often stay put, and with not a whole lot of reason to back up, because again, they could reach you again at that point. So I wanted to toy with that a little bit more, and the lava helped us do that. The lava is something that's doing damage to both some of the baddies and yourselves, and there's very good reason to stay moving. And so that was kind of one of the main things. And then also, while I liked the idea of kiting and like going into the end rounds of fatigue once in a while, I was seeing a few too many games of that happening, where you're like either misusing it to, build up your bones and unlock your innate +1 on day 2. And like, cheaters. That's okay. And like, that's all there. And I love people figuring out that kind of stuff. But this was a way for us to accelerate all of the battles a bit and make them more volatile right out of the gates. So fatigue and long fatigue rounds are not as much a thing in this one. So I mean, I won't get into too many more elements. I see the questions pouring in, but like those were just 2 of, I would say, maybe 4 to 6 things that we tried to either address or, infuse the battle map with, to make it new and interesting, and to like draw out of the current gear locks that we have some of their things that you're not able to use as well on like the raft mat. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of I'm gonna try to hit a few of these quick questions that we can. Sorry, we're gonna cut. There's a personal email address on the front of our
thanks
of our pop-up book, so we're gonna quick cover that up. Couple of these quicker questions: Is the adventure mat in Unbreakable Hero is the adventure mat in the Unbreakable Hero Pledge, or is it solely an add-on? It is solely an add-on, and those of you who backed Unbreakable, yes, the new adventure mat was included in the like all-in gameplay pledge. We went a little bit lighter on that this time, simply because there was so much gameplay content that we knew everybody would want the gameplay content. We didn't want to assume that everybody would want every accessory. So the new adventure mat is something that you add as an add-on rather than as being part of the Unbreakable Hero Pledge.
Yeah, we wanted to also make sure that we weren't just blasting everyone with 10 to 20 different reward levels that are all mixed and matched. And, everything is already fairly piecemeal. So you can add it as you go. And there's a lot of we wanted to focus on those very
Right.
specific bundles. So
We know there's going to be a lot of new people to TMB in this campaign, and so that was also part of the whole pledge level piece is
Yep.
with the new language additions, and there's still a huge number of people out there who think that TMB is like only available via Kickstarter or crowdfunding
Sure.
or
Yep.
GameFound. So we always get a flood of new people joining the TMB universe, and so we wanted to simplify where we could, and so that's why it is truly just all gameplay, and the adventure mat is an add-on as a part of this campaign. Is there a way to get more chip dividers? So chip dividers to organize baddies in the trove chest. Right now there is not, though I have seen that question pop up a few times. So we will take a look at that, and if there's something that we can do to add, a pack of those dividers or something, we will investigate that. We haven't had a chance to even catch our breath yet this morning.
Yeah.
So, but not right now. Not right now, but we'll look at it.
Yep. What do you suggest for two-player who have never played TMB? How big is the
I think that's
TMB
a separate
Yeah.
question.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I was like, all right. So in terms of which game, you think is that what they're asking there? Do you think?
Sure.
I think
Go
I
ahead.
understand it.
Yeah.
So if you don't have any too many bones, we've kind of presented the series of games in that you want to start with the TMB base game. That's really what everyone recommends going back to is that base game. It does come with 4 gear locks. Don't assume that you're buying more content that you need. These gear locks are, they're replayable. You can switch it up and play different combinations. But it's absolutely worth starting there. If you're looking for a budget option, you can absolutely start with Undertow or Unbreakable, but we recommend just the TMB base game, and that's partly why we translated that base game into the other languages, because that's really the best starting point for our series, right?
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I would say if, like we mentioned in a previous stream, I think that one of the reasons that we were making this one standalone, Unbreakable, was so that we could give people that cheaper entry point. So he's correct in that if you're looking for a little bit cheaper option and you're new to Bones, that was what we were thinking when we created it at the price that we did. So we know that Undertow, that was the intention there as well, but it became a very complex gear lock with Stanza. And so with this one, the gear locks have a little bit easier learning curve, but still have a lot of complexity to them. But I wouldn't put it quite on par of Stanza. So yeah, it's a good entry point if you're looking for that little bit cheaper option.
Yep. For those with only the base game, will Unbreakable be enjoyable, or do you need Undertow and or Splice and Dice as well? It will be very unenjoyable. We've tailored the game specifically that way. No, I'm just kidding. It will definitely be enjoyable. There's really, so if you want to play through like the canonical storyline, and I would also stress that like the storyline elements of Too Many Bones, as they relate to how they're infused into the gameplay itself, are relatively light. These encounters that you're drawing, they can kind of happen anywhere at any time, and so they're written in such a way that there's not a ton of canonical elements that are happening inside the game. If you want to play through the storyline, though, canonically, it would be base game, Undertow, and then Unbreakable. However, Unbreakable is totally enjoyable as a standalone experience. There's plenty of tyrants in that base game box to entertain you. There's a campaign mode that you can play through, and you can mix and match stuff, with the exception of the break baddies, really. Yeah. The break type baddies that are in Unbreakable, they interact almost exclusively with the lava chips in this game. And so they don't translate super well outside of Unbreakable, but everything else, the orcs and the trolls that are in this, and then bogs, is it bogs? It's the other type. It's in Unbreakable. They all can be integrated with the base game without issue. It probably becomes more rewarding the more stuff you have, as a lot of games of this nature tend to do. But Unbreakable is a great place to jump to from the base game if you're looking for just more content and the price tag is appealing to you. The other thing I'll note is that I don't want to say we made a mistake by making Stanza super complicated in Undertow, because Stanza is many people's favorite character to play. However, we have put a focus on making sure that the 2 gear locks that go in the Unbreakable box, Gale and Figment, while they are not like boring and simple, they are much more straightforward in terms of wrapping your head around their mechanics. You don't have a focus mechanic. You're not vamping songs. You're not trying to keep multiple different crazy effect songs going on at the same time. They're fairly straightforward in terms of being able to learn them quickly. And so that is also something appealing about Unbreakable that we maybe should have thought a little bit harder about with Undertow, but I don't know. I blame you for that.
Yeah, you want that one?
Sure. Any reason we can't use the original adventure map with Unbreakable? Yes. So the original adventure map, we're talking about the add-on product, right? With the day counter, and you've got the bee that you're moving along on the map. So our tyrants for Unbreakable have, first of all, they're not found on those locations of the map if we're really kind of looking at it that way. But the days and the progress point requirements for those tyrants would be different than Undertow and Too Many Bones original.
Yeah,
so.
you could. It could be a hack, and you could make it work. That's like the short answer.
Right.
But because of the campaign side of things, it's going to work most seamlessly with the new mat, and that add-on is kind of about theme anyway. So if you're trying to, that's really all it adds. So if you want that, then I would recommend you get the new one. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So
how will the campaign in Unbreakable work? Is it a mini campaign like in Undertow? Yes, it is a mini campaign like in Undertow. We have a few different ideas that we're toying with actually for the campaign in Unbreakable to make it a little bit different and add a few more wrinkles. You'll notice that thematically speaking, the Nexus, like the big bad in this game, has there's some different pieces to machinery that kind of these tyrants have all infused into their bodies and that kind of thing. And so we're looking at toying with that a little bit and kind of doing a collect all the machinery mechanic. That's something we're toying with. I'm not promising that, but for the most part, it's going to play very similar to the Undertow campaign, which I think a lot of people really enjoy. And at the same time, there's not really a reason you couldn't integrate these tyrants into an Age of Tyranny campaign in the same way that you can with Undertow and Age of Tyranny. Again, the only issue there is storyline wise. Right. There's a little bit like if you're fighting 7 tyrants in a row and you skip around, that gets a little bit weird. But there's no issue from a gameplay side.
Yeah.
right.
Go ahead.
Is there a way to mix loot, trove loot, and baddies chips with the base game? I can take that one.
Yeah.
So we mentioned earlier that the baddies, the new type, the break, will be exclusive just to Unbreakable, kind of like the Krell and the mech for Undertow. They're just kind of found in that area. But the break have we announced the baddie types yet? So we've got the orcs, the trolls, and the bog. Those will all be compatible with going back to base game and Undertow. And then to address the loot, trove loot. So very much like Undertow, there's just a handful of loot that kind of are found in Unbreakable, just like they are found in Undertow. But for the most part, 95% of the loot, trove loot also will be backwards compatible. Yep.
And I've even seen some of those specific ones that may be like geared for Unbreakable are being worded and like balanced and tested so that they could work in the base game, just so that you're not having to go through and pick out those 2 or 3 cards that like don't apply. So,
thanks for the reminder. So they're all compatible. Absolutely.
In terms of Tyrant's difficulty, how will you rank the new Tyrants compared to the already existing Tyrants?
Impossible. Impossible.
I would say that they're probably going to be harder only because through the years we've learned some very specific things with how people are building their gear locks, and we're factoring that in a bit more. So it might require a little bit more well-rounded builds. In certain cases, it might require you to switch up your build based on what that Tyrant is doing with its encounters. So there's a little bit more of like you can't. The intention, at least, is that we don't want you sliding into a very stat heavy build or something that you can one hit kill at the end. So
I don't think they'll be as hard as the Splice and Dice Tyrants. Splice and Dice was made kind of with Bones experts in mind to really challenge them. All of those Tyrants also are much more difficult at higher player counts, and that was intentional because a lot of people feel that 4-player Bones is the easiest way to play. But yeah, these we are aware of the quote unquote only one stretch goal remains. That's
only
incredible.
One?
Yeah,
that's my key. We gotta update the graphic.
We'll get on it. Are you okay? He's gonna unlock some more stretch goals for you. Well, wait, you're gonna unlock the stretch goals. We're gonna post them. But in general, yes, we're aware of most of the quote unquote exploits in the game, especially for the original Tyrants. And so we're trying to close some of those loopholes to make sure that they present a challenge every time you play, rather than having like a way that you always want to play against them. We don't want you always using Gilly and Piercing Arrow against Nom for if that's an illustration that means anything to some of you.
It would be fair to say that these new Tyrants are a little bit smarter. They're just you can't really figure them out. Like Josh was saying, with a specific build, you kind of have to approach it with a little bit more thought on the strategy and planning.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So
there isn't any upgrade pack in this campaign with erratas and corrections. No.
Yes.
No, there is not.
Yes.
Finally, yeah. So part of us growing up as a company has been getting better at the proofing process. Has been and hiring more staff to help us with that kind of thing. And no, for this campaign, things are now. That's not to say we don't correct little like typos or clarification things that we find here and there, but there was no true errata to fix in this last batch of content, which we are so thankful for. We are so thankful for that. I see a question. How big is the TMB playmat? I do not know the answer to that off the top of my head. I'm hoping that maybe some of our support staff in the GameFound Skype group that we have can maybe answer that question for us so that we can post it. I think it's like 37 by 49 or something. I think I'm close on that. But I don't know off the top of my head. We will get an answer for you.
Yeah, I saw a note, but I'm not going to throw any numbers out there to confuse anyone. So
yeah. Okay. Is there a pledge manager? And then just explaining a little bit about how that works on GameFound. So if you are familiar with crowdfunding in general, which I think most of you are, but typically you have the campaign portion and then you have the pledge manager portion. And that gets also confusing because there are different brand names associated with pledge managers, including one literally just called Pledge Manager. But you have the campaign portion, so either the Kickstarter or the GameFound campaign, which this GameFound campaign will be running for 17 days. And you can pledge at any of the levels you see, and then there's official add-ons as a part of this campaign. After the campaign closes, anybody who is pledged for the campaign then gains access to the Pledge Manager. And in the Pledge Manager, you will finalize your order, you will add your shipping address and take care of all those kinds of details, and then you will have an opportunity to add additional products as you see fit. Either some campaigns, it's just products from that campaign. In Chip Theory campaigns, we typically offer almost our entire back catalog and some other items as well. So, so after the campaign ends, GameFound, I believe, takes 30 days. They have a 30-day gap between the end of the campaign and the opening of the Pledge Manager. One nice thing about GameFound is that they operate as their own Pledge Manager. So everything that you do in this campaign will all be done through GameFound.
That's really convenient.
Yeah, And so as I mentioned, like a lot of our legacy products, all the older bone stuff, premium health, some of that kind of stuff is all going to be available in the Pledge Manager after the campaign. And again, we will be posting a PDF with a list of all of that stuff. And if you want to add funds now to help unlock stretch goals, you are more than welcome to do so, though you are not obligated to do so. You will have plenty of time. We actually plan on keeping this Pledge Manager open for quite some time, probably well into 2022, to allow folks to add new content. So yeah, hope that answers that question. Where can we find all of this lore and get the story to date? Whew. You can download PDF versions of the Liberation Logbook and the Waterlogged book, which are the first 2 lore books that we did for this game, on our website under the support section of our website. So obviously in this campaign, you can buy the really fancy leather-bound editions with flame-singed edges and all that craziness, as well as the new lore book for this campaign, which we are calling the Cog book, because it will literally have metal and like that kind of stuff going on in it. But yeah, you can download those books on our website and read them to your heart's content. Some of the lore has been included as a part of like our Kickstarter campaigns, but most of that stuff has been put into the various lore books that we've done. And then we do, if you're not familiar, we also have this guy right here, which is the Automaton of Shale, which is an actual pop-up book, a playable pop-up book. And I'm gonna
let's take a look at it.
I don't want to give away all of the secrets for it, so I'm just gonna page through it kind of real quickly. And this is a brand new lore/playable book that we have, which will be releasing in early 2022, and is also orderable in this campaign. And I'm on record saying I think it might be the coolest thing we've ever done, both in terms of like the pop-up story and that kind of thing. But yeah, on our website is the place to find all of that lore, and we have more lore coming. We have an actual writer on staff now in Ryan Howard, who is handling all of the lore writing for all of our series now, and making sure that the canon actually makes sense. And yeah, exactly. So
Perfect. Well done. Thank you.
yeah. We have the question, any chance of a combined rule book? So we've talked about that. Right now, the plan is no. The reason for that is simply between the lava mechanics in this game in Unbreakable, the raft mechanics in the Undertow game. This is already a fairly complicated game to learn. The NAP mode, Nebulous Apprenticeship Program in Splice and Dice, it's already a fairly complex game to learn, and we didn't want to muddle it anymore by like trying to include every mechanic in the entire game all in one place. I will say we are looking at unifying the rules around like the fatigue round, which was different between base game and Undertow. We're looking at unifying all that kind of stuff so that that's consistent across every game. But in terms of the way that the battle mats work and that sort of thing, the campaign modes work, we're going to keep those in their individual rule books for now. So,
Oh, wow.
what's your favorite new gear lock, Adam? What's your favorite new gear lock?
Oh, boy.
Tell us.
Wow. I mean, so there's a few of them. So I think it's important to say that all of the gear locks, in fact, are kind of a collaboration effort. Many of us on our team had inspirations. We've jotted down some kind of rough sketches of the gear locks. This is going back a few months. And obviously, a couple of them were rough sketched by me. But funny enough, only one of them kind of made it through the cuts. So I think we kind of had everybody kind of champion a gear lock, and we're all collaborating and play testing and kind of perfecting those gear locks. So personally, I'm most familiar with Figment. So Figment, I'm just a little overview. Why not, right?
Yeah.
So Figment, again, you saw in the Kickstarter video, there's a little bit of a trick with the time. Figment is definitely able to manipulate the round counter a little bit, and the initiative meter as well. I love that, some of the skills on Figment. Actually, he features most of his dice go in the lock slot, which is different. And so they will persist from battle to battle. But what's cool is those dice will have specific trigger points on specific round numbers, and you can exhaust them for a stronger effect. But whether you're setting up for the battle going forward and getting, say, round 3 trigger, and then it'll have a minor effect each round, you might want to exhaust it on round 3 for that stronger effect, or you could leave it there. So for the next battle, it'll already be prepped and ready. So there's a lot of setup in the beginning or potential setup in the end. I won't go into too much more, but definitely fun to have a gear lock finally that has control over the bound counter and the initiative die, for sure.
I would say Figment is maybe the strongest gear lock we've ever done in terms of setting up combos.
Sure, yeah, that would be a fair statement. Even just through playtesting, it's been fun to see. Figment is a little slow out of the gate if you don't set up for the following battle on that previous battle right at the end. Kind of like Boomer, when you're collecting those components and setting up for the grenades. Figment would be very similar in that way. You want to kind of set up for those round 1 and 2 triggers because you can't really set up for them on your first and second turns. It would already be past time. So yeah, definitely with a little bit of setup, those combos can really work well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm partial to the gear lock that I've been working on, which is Carcass. And Carcass is a survivalist. He's got a meat hook for a weapon, and he can unlock additional meat hooks, which is awesome. And then he can string up baddies on those meat hooks, and he can cook them.
He can cook them?
He can stuff them.
Yeah?
He can skin them. And dang nabbit, he can do just about anything with them there baddies.
Plushies?
Plushies? Did you say plushies?
Yeah. Can he make?
He cannot.
No.
Yet.
Oh.
But Carcass's mechanics are all about for the most part. He does have a line that's more generic in terms of just attacking, but Carcass is all about collecting baddies and then spending those baddies along with a skill die. So he can cook them up, and he's got a whole separate stack of like cooking loot cards. From gross food that he can make.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, which is like along the lines of the pixelated gross food you can make in Zelda Breath of the Wild, to other sorts of effects that interact with the baddie skills. There's a little bit of kind of splice and dice inspiration there in terms of, you want to get baddies that interact well with the recipe cards that you have available. Carcass Cookbook.
Somebody mentioned the Carcass.
Not at this time. I am a terrible cook, so I don't know if we have anybody on staff here who would be
that's the next
an
log
authoritative. Amanda's raising her hand, so talk to Nugget. Submit lots of tickets to support, asking for the Carc. Don't do that, please. No, don't. Please, Lord, do not do that right now this week. That is the worst thing I've ever said in my life. That is. That's my favorite, just because Carcass is probably the most outside of the box and probably the most complex gear lock as a part of this campaign. We'll be spotlighting him toward the end of the campaign, actually, because we are still working on getting a good-looking reference sheet and stuff put together for him. But yeah, Carcass is my favorite of the gear locks in this campaign. What about you?
Did you already?
He already went.
We
He
discussed
said Figment.
and we discussed Carcass. Yep.
Are we good on stretch goals,
no,
by the way?
Don't
are we good on
about
check?
that.
Oh no, I gotta go unlock some more. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Wow. Most recently I've been playing and thinking through Figment as well, and really liking the different dynamics there. So
Thank you.
I would say
Yep,
I would
thank
say
you.
that one. I have had less time with Carcass, so
We all
he and
have.
I, yeah,
He's not real sociable.
personable.
Yeah.
Right.
He's kind of
Right.
a little prickly.
I will say that Polaris is looking really cool. And that one, kudos to Ryan for coming up with that and working with me a lot of patience on, getting that right. It's one that, for me, I have to be able to visualize this gear lock in the wild and try to at least remotely imagine them doing the thing they're doing. So for me, when we hit on the magnets and these little floating orbs that she can control and send away, or more often attract back, hitting baddies along the way, that was really kind of a cool thing. My affinity toward magnets probably had something to do with that, but whatever. So yeah, I think those two are neat. And then, I'm not trying to just round it out, but Gale is another one that I'm thinking that a lot of players are gonna enjoy, especially on this mat, because of the displacement, because movement and positioning matters a lot more I'm thinking that people will really like Gale. So.
And the people already figured out those main skill dice in the middle of the map and how the backup plan gives you access to. So there's a neat little twist to accessing specific skills only through the backup plan. That's wow.
Okay, so a couple other. Which famous pair of brothers in the CTG universe inspired rock and roll? Not brothers per se, but you. I think you were the one that worked on rock and roll the most.
I did the design on the troll. It started out as one, but we found out he had a sibling.
right.
No, that would be Ryan that kind of brought in the lore of that, and
but it's leaning into. So if you haven't played 40 Days in Daylore, there is we're kind of playing a little bit with this idea that the trolls are always in conflict and always trying to like bash each other over the head and try to usurp each other. In fact, there's a troll usurper in 40 Days in Daylore. So you're playing with that a little bit in this, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So so rock and roll. Have we unlocked them yet? Not yet. We'll get there.
Have already.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A long time ago.
I couldn't remember what number. I couldn't remember what number. Rock and roll. They're now a part of Unbreakable. Anyways, so they are both tyrants, and they will make an appearance through those tyrant encounters. So you'll kind of learn a little bit about each of them in separate tyrant encounters, and there's unique characteristics and how to approach defeating them. And then they both make an appearance in that final tyrant battle. And so there's kind of a three-way combat thing going on. So they're both sort of addressing you, but they want to take out each other. They're not really seeing you as a threat, or at least one of them is not. The other is a little bit smarter and knows that you guys are,
He's a drummer.
that we are the greater threat. So it's kind of, but a lot of fun, and this absolutely will be, in my opinion, it'll showcase the movement and strategic positioning and the lava component. I'm super excited about rock and roll.
Yeah, the idea that you're going to have, like, you can try to keep your distance, but then when they bash each other and send one flying your way, like everyone's like, get out of the way. And yeah, it's kind of a different dynamic to the whole lava, on every chip. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. I want to answer this question. So why put June as the shipping date unless you are manufacturing in the next couple months? It isn't realistic. Why not put something more realistic like October or November? So
that's a good question.
As I'm sure all of you are aware, both from our own campaigns, we just put out a burn cycle update last night, and from all sorts of other campaigns, manufacturing and shipping worldwide is a little bit bonkers right now, and having any timeline of any kind is a little bit, licking your finger and holding it up to the wind and just trying to figure out which way the wind is blowing that particular week. I would say, all I would say is we are really far along on this stuff, even though we don't have like a bunch of really nice prototypes to show you. We're awaiting Gearlock mats. They should be here any day, legitimately. Also, $800,000. Are you kidding me? But I'm still, even when we make these predictions, it's still crazy when the numbers like actually roll in. So, but we are really far along on this stuff. So I'm not going to sit here and say like, I guarantee you we will get it here by June 1st and prove you all wrong. But we have spent much of the last year and a half working really hard on several things that we are very far along on. Burn cycle, all we have left is finalizing that rulebook. Hoplo, Victorum, and Remastered, we're just waiting some art assets, and those are pretty well ready to go. And so in the meantime, while that art has been developing and while other stuff is happening, we have been working on all of this content. And it is really, really far along. These Gearlocks are further along, I'd say, than any of the other Gearlocks we've ever done on any other crowdfunding campaign. So, while I'm not going to sit here and guarantee June ever on any crowdfunding campaign, because especially in the state of the world, that's just not smart. But we're working really hard, and we feel good about the timelines we have.
Well, and that is based on product or file submission dates that we've tried to work out. And yeah, like he said, up to this point, well, we've slowly tried to shift and every year get a little bit better at working on the project, preparing the project even earlier than the Kickstarter. Like when Adam and I started this, it was true Kickstarter at the time. We were on Kickstarter and it was like, we have an idea. Let's try to explain this idea on a page. And if people like it and buy into it, we'll start to make it. Like that was kind of how we approached Hoplo. Yep. And yeah, so like Bones kind of followed suit. Like we were making graphics for the campaign, not for the game, was how we approached that first project. It was like, this is an idea. How do we convey it? And then like slowly the industry has changed that into much more of a pre-order. And so like that's pushed us in that direction, which is great. But there's still that native, like, I want it to be just, and we've talked about this before, but I do want it to still be an idea that we're presenting because we get some of the best like feedback. And if we're touting that the files are ready to send tomorrow, you know, then all of a sudden it makes it much harder for us to make those types of changes. Or someone throws out a good idea and we're like, yeah, like we should do that. So that's one aspect, but we're kind of treading both sides of that right now. Okay. And I think we're way further along than we've ever been. And so based on those new file submission dates, I do think that's achievable. And obviously we're pushing for having it at conventions again. So like that's another incentive.
I mean, we are playtesting Unbreakable externally right now on TTS starting this week. And that's something that we've never been able to do.
Yep, that's always been a month or two after the campaign.
Yeah, Rage of Tyranny is being playtested right now externally outside of the company, as are a couple of the new gear locks. So we're in a good place, and you know, you may be wagging your finger at us in June of next year saying we told you so, and you know, all we can say, we're doing our best, and we feel really good about these timelines, and we feel really good about where the development of the game is at. I would also just say, like, we have templates for encounter cards already, we have templates for gear lock mats already, like all of that stuff it's all known entities, and so we're able to put some of that stuff together a little bit faster. Okay. Is there a new baddie skill you are excited and can share, that you can share and are excited to see people get frustrated with?
That's not why we create baddie skills, right?
Yes, but
I mean, obviously the lava is going to be the biggest thing that comes in and like ruins your day. And so baddies that are flipping those lava chips over are that.
What does the lava do? We never really mentioned.
So it's damaging you. It's damaging you each round if you're on it, and it's true damage. So it's not anything that you can really get away from, and you have the opportunity to keep moving. So it's not a guaranteed damage, and if you can keep on your toes. And so the gear locks that can move in the course of their attack, there are gear locks that can do that. And there are more now, or gear locks that can displace baddies into lava or out of lava. The baddies are using that. A lot of and I'm talking break type baddies specifically right now, but they're utilizing that lava to help them and to hurt you. So I would say that's definitely the skill lines that are gonna frustrate people the most.
All right, so if the trove chest is added to a pledge, is it shipped separately? So does that incur a separate additional flat rate shipping charge? And I just want to, like hammer this home over and over again, because I think it's such a big deal in the state of worldwide freight and shipping. Flat rate shipping applies to everything in your order, starting today until you close the pledge manager.
Unbelievable.
So you could add literally the entire Chip Theory Games catalog to your pledge. Probably don't do that, but if you want to, like, fine. And in the United States, it would cost you $15 to ship that entire order to your doorstep. Full stop. 7 trove chests, 25
Dude,
trove
you made
chests.
your point. You
okay.
made
You
your
get it,
point.
yeah.
We can make money here.
I'm sorry. I decided against it.
No, it is exciting because I remember when we like rewind to like year 1 of Bones, we were talking about like how do we give deals on this campaign. We can do it through discounts or we can do it through shipping, and it's always that kind of that hit when you get to checkout, whether it's during the campaign or in the pledge manager, and then you are attacked by the reality of shipping and all the rest of it. And we were like, we really hadn't been able to offer it, but we went aggressive on our website, and that allowed us to follow suit with this. And it just so happens that we're doing this at a time when it's everyone, it's very chaotic out there, and so kind of really like it's a nice feather in our hat right now.
Yeah,
it's one we're paying for sure.
Yes.
But like it is really awesome to be able to offer this kind of a thing, which is extremely aggressive, hands down. So yeah.
So while our products, the full price or slight discount, I mean, it's the shipping, we're subsidizing it. So what the numbers they're seeing is not the true cost of the shipping. It's what we're charging.
Right.
And then everything else, no matter what, is on us.
Yep. So I would encourage you to go back and actually, we posted an update last night. If you haven't, I'm staring at the screen. I need to stare at you. Go back and check the update we posted last night if you haven't. It does break down by region approximately how much you are saving on shipping versus the actual cost versus what we're paying on a per pledge level basis. And then those savings only go up the more stuff you add to your pledge, obviously. So it's significant, and that's so while our bundled pricing and the base price of Unbreakable are not discounted maybe quite as much as you may have seen in other campaigns, the shipping is, especially in the current state of the world, is really significant. So all right, another question: will Unbreakable have the same amount of content as the base game and Undertow do, with all of their add-ons via 40 days, etc.? I don't know where we're at with the stretch goals right now. Is there? I mean, I know, but I haven't even.
We've got a lot that we're unlocking. What specifically are we looking for?
So
the content.
I'm talking about the content, the I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it.
I think
what
trying to figure out the campaign.
The end stretch goals.
Yeah.
Are we to those?
No, we're not to those yet.
Okay.
I think the question really was. Sorry. No.
No tiger.
What's going on. Okay.
No tiger to spar with.
I think the question really was asking if the whole Age of Tyranny build-in was coming in for Unbreakable, and how we're loading out with those campaign cards, and but chip for chip, card for card, Unbreakable is right there with Undertow, if not more.
Actually, more. Yeah, it's going to be.
So absolutely.
I think what this question is getting at though is like, now base game has 40 days in Daylor, Undertow has 40 waves in Daylor. Is there, when we're all done, will Unbreakable have that much content as those games in their respective silos?
I see.
That's all up to you.
You will, based on the rate that we're unlocking things, you will see some things.
You'll see some things soon enough.
Hashtag soon. And that will answer that question a little bit better for you.
I figured it out. I just figured out what. Yes. Okay.
Okay. All right. If we go all in for every CTG product, will one of you personally rent a van and drive it out to us to save on shipping? I don't think a van could hold an entire CTG catalog at this point. It's going to be tight.
I think
we need a moving
100-mile radius.
We'll send. This is the send Gilly around the world. We were
we
talking
keep joking about that. We've been talking about that for years.
Yeah.
I think one day we will.
Yeah.
We'll just ship them.
I'm such a seasoned
he will
traveler.
Personally deliver.
I recently went on a cruise 4 years ago, which was my first time ever being out of the country.
We'll get you out of the country.
I have been to Essen now, so that's I'm really good at traveling. Yeah, well worn traveler. All right, so that appears to be the end. We kind of showed the battle mat a little bit. We quickly flipped through this. I didn't want to spoil too much of this.
Don't spoil it.
You want to show them the collapsible dice tray?
If they've seen the video on this thing, I don't know if it's going to be something that we can, like the top down is going to really show off. So basically we kind of
Magnets, man.
magnets.
And we don't have any. Oh, we do have these 2 dice.
Roll a chip. Good.
Beautiful.
Good.
So this is a new product. We just offered these for Hoplomachus Victorum at the very, very end, but we do have this collapsible dice tower that is only $20, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? And folds up, and you can keep it in your Too Many Bones box. It fits. It's great. And so this is a new product that we are offering on this campaign. The only other thing I think we haven't, or the 2 things we haven't talked about much, would be 40.
Wait! I gotta just say something. So this is a funny story. This product I searched high and low for and worked to design because I was like, finally, a product we can make a little money on. And I was like, I'm really liking the margins on this thing. Like, this is good. And then I talked to this dude, and he's like, oh, no, we can't charge any more than $20 for that. I'm like, okay.
He wanted to charge you $25. Can you believe that?
Yeah,
it
or
may end up
30.
going. It may, when we actually offer this in our web store, it may go up to 25 or 30. I felt strong. Here's the thing: people have bought so many dice trays from us
I
for
know.
$15 that
I know.
I had a feeling we were going to have a hard time upselling people into this when they already have 75,000 CTG dice trays from various campaigns over the years.
It's true.
You can tell me I'm wrong on that, and I would be happy to take more of your money for these things. But I just had a feeling. So $20, it's a bargain. I mean, we've already heard from several people actually that they're like, I just bought a wooden dice tower for like $75, and this is cooler, and I like it better, and it's only $20. But you know, that's good news for you, and I am looking out for you always, all the time. I'm never looking out for him.
Yeah.
Did you hear the way he talked about the money he wants to make off of you? Did you hear that?
Some.
The other products we have not talked about, at least in any detail, would be 40 Waves and Daylor, and the Rage of Tyranny expansion. So 40 Waves and Daylor is relatively self-explanatory. We've got 8 mech, 8 Kreln, which is one more baddie than 40 Days in Daylor, actually, because we wanted an even split between the mech and the Kreln. We found some really cool ways to make some unique or some interesting skill interactions on the mech and the Kreln that they create new headaches and new problems. You know, given that they're all 3-point baddies, you know, they have to fit within a certain range. So we really worked to make the skill interactions on those interesting to make sure that they challenge you in new ways. So yeah.
If you're not already familiar with how we do campaigns, we will be touching up on several of the gear locks and add-ons and spotlights. So we have a spotlight where it will feature and go into great detail on each of the things we're talking about. Right. So don't feel like you missed anything here. There will be a much more in-depth look at each of those.
And I think, you know, we said, those of you who've been following us for a while, we said after the Undertow campaign, like, holy cow, we're really burned out on encounter ideas for the raft and for land battles. Like, we've twisted our brain in as many ways as we possibly can with these mechanics. So when we started approaching 40 Waves, I was filled with dread and trepidation because I was like, are we going to be able to come up with 40 interesting new ideas that that actually, you know, put a significant twist on the game? And I'm really excited about these encounters. They came quick. The ideas came quick. They are all really good. You know, you have your standard mix of like goofy encounters with like the serious ones. I don't want to spoil too much, but there may be an encounter where we allow you to get married if you're playing true solo. Take a long walk on the beach. It's great. There's a Titanic themed encounter, etc. So we're excited. We're really excited about these. And then Rage of Tyranny. You want to talk a little bit about that? Yeah,
I mean, kudos to Logan for that. He worked really hard on that. And Adam,
so Logan Giannini, who you may know from our Hoplomachus Victorum work, he kind of co-designed that with Adam.
Rage of Tyranny, brief overview. Is that what we're? So each of the Too Many Bones base game tyrants as well as the Undertow. So that's 12 new tyrants essentially. So we're kind of calling them what's the
We
word?
have the shadow cards.
Shadow,
and so,
shadows.
yep.
So shadow cards are really a cool way of starting out a game and having that shadow card out face up next to the tyrant card, and it kind of spells out how this specific adventure is going to be a little bit different than your typical run. Like for NAM, there might be an additional different kind of chip or dice or even cards that kind of put a little twist on it, and it ultimately is the same tyrant for the most part, but the whole experience is different.
Yeah, what ends up happening is you'll have the tyrant, but then you'll have the chip that you already have, but then you'll have other chips that are supplementing that, and a completely different tyrant battle. So like the whole way you come at that is going to be changed up. And then the shadow cards are meant to be this thing that's always reminding you that you're headed to that tyrant at the end. So things that you do along the way are sometimes affecting the battle, or at least affecting your journey, and it keeps it more in theme rather than these disparate little encounters that are not always pertaining to your end goal.
Yeah, so if you've played Splice and Dice at all, and you fought against Ammonite or Oxide or Lockgear, those three specifically,
that has a similar.
Yeah,
feel.
they have effects and things that are kind of pervasively, chasing after you or bothering you, even in encounters that aren't tyrant encounters.
Yep.
So we wanted to add some of that to the original tyrants from both base game and Undertow. And then the other thing is just that some of the tyrants, they've been, again, not by experienced players, they've kind of been solved. Like they're easy to build for, what to expect. And we wanted to find, because we only have so much storage room in things like the Trove Chest, and just like we don't want to, designing brand new tyrants is a lot of work. It's really challenging. So we wanted to find a way to take these tried and true villains that already and bring them up a notch in terms of difficulty or just interest. With the benefit of now 5 years of experience designing for this franchise, we really know what works, what's interesting, what's not, and how to challenge the player in new and interesting ways. So
all those components for Rage of Tyranny actually go within the Tyrant storage trays if you're buying that Trove Chest or the alternate storage solution. So
I'm not seeing any more questions. So we are on the brink of $850,000.
Wow.
I cannot believe it. Everybody, thank you so much. We're going to wrap up this live stream. We're going to go look and see if there's any fires to put out outside of this room, make some updates to the page, get that Pledge Manager PDF up for you. But again, thank you. This series, this company exists because of this game, and this game exists because of you and your enthusiasm for this bizarre, insane board game that was breathed into life 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, I guess technically. Enjoy the rest of the campaign. We're gonna have spotlights coming at you throughout the campaign. We're gonna be active in the comments, and please, if you're excited about this game, if you're excited about what Chip Theory is doing, our mission as a company, please share it everywhere. Get on BGG and talk about it. Comment on Facebook groups, etc. That stuff means more than you know. And word of mouth has always been the primary way that Chip Theory has gotten our games out into the world. So thank you so much. We